Imagine knowing someone for over 20 years, and for 12 years of the 20 years, you thought they were your best friend, only to discover they say that you were lovers and in fact you were in a de facto relationship and they have a claim on your assets. That's what happened in this case. My name's Fadan. I'm a family law solicitor practicing in Sydney, Australia, and today I'm going to talk to you about a case which was heard in the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia. It's a de facto relationship case and it's a good one. So let's get started. The case is called Pyavine and Mofield and it's a 2024 decision and the appeal was heard in 2025. This is a case of Heather and G. Now, Heather and G dated back in 1998. Oh, that's my phone, 1 minute. In 1998 to 2000, Heather and G were in fact in a relationship. That's not in dispute. It didn't work out. They were together for less than 2 years. It didn't work out. Subsequent to that, G went off and married and had a couple of kids to someone else. She went off and had a couple of kids, didn't marry, but had a de facto relationship, and that didn't work out either. Many years later, so 10 years later, in the year 2010, they meet up again. G contacts Heather and says, how about we catch up for old time's sake? They get together, they catch up, and she's thinking in her mind, he's a great guy. He's a property manager, and she's really rich. She's got lots of businesses. She owns lots of investment properties, a block of units. She's doing very well. She could use a good property manager as an employee. So she says, this is great. And they start hanging out and talking about investments and things, and he becomes her property manager. 3 years later, in 2013, she has an investment property that she allows him to live in. He thinks this property is what we call a love nest. That is that they would go there and have, relations. He lived there, but she would come, he says, at least once a week, and they would have relations there. And on top of that, he says they were in a de facto relationship. I considered her my partner. We went on holidays together. She gave me a supplementary credit card, which I could use at my leisure. I lived in her place for free. He says that she was there so often that, in fact, she had all her stuff there, and he considered that they, in fact, lived together. She had an elderly father that she was looking after, so she lived with her dad predominantly, but she would come here, and he said that was their shared residence. She denied that and said that she was looking after her dad, and that's where she lived, and she didn't, in fact, have stuff at the love nest. So after 13 years then of what she thinks is friendship, travelling, going out to dinners, having fun, because she considered G her best friend. That's in the judgment. He was my best friend. Whereas he said they were lovers and they had a commitment for a shared life together into the future. And she was like, that's not how I saw it. He ultimately made a claim on her assets saying that there was a de facto relationship. So he had to overcome the threshold to prove to the court that they were in fact in a de facto relationship. Now, there's lots of indicia for that, and he had to go through and prove as many of those things that he could. He said that she stayed in Suburb U, that's the love nest, the property that she owned that he lived in for free. She would spend approximately 2 to 3 nights per week there. There was no fixed pattern, but the frequency, he said, was enough to establish they were in fact in a de facto relationship. He also contended that he became part of her family unit. He would go to family functions. He would go to Christmas, birthdays, engagement parties, christenings, as well as attending holidays with her. They were doing so many things together. She says that they were both sexually active throughout the relationship. They communicated with each other by telephone, engaged in social events, and presented as a couple to the world. Now, he also worked for her, and he said that he had a supplementary credit card. She admitted that. And he had the occupation of her property, the love nest, rent-free. That was also admitted. And he had use of motor vehicles. That's also admitted. They had no kids together. Now, why did the relationship end? He says it ended when she discovered he was having an affair. In October 2022, G has an affair with another lady, a much younger lady. They're in their 60s as at the date of the trial, and he started sleeping with an employee who was the age of her daughter, and he had this affair. She discovered the affair and confronted him about it, and she was just upset that he did this in the sense that he's a good friend. She was questioning his judgment, and he says she was so angry, it shows that we were in a relationship. Like, if we're just friends, what does she care if I had an affair? It's not, in fact, an affair. It's a relationship, isn't it? Why was she so upset about it? And she was upset because we were in a relationship. He said in his affidavit that she became enraged and started verbally abusing him and destroying furniture in the love nest. Heather, this is what he said, called me and asked if we could meet up. When I arrived, she was already in the unit. She greeted me as usual with a kiss. We sat in the living room, and very soon she became angry and started yelling at me, saying that she had evidence of me having an affair, and who was with the younger woman, Ms. X Smurfette, and that they were having an affair. And she got very upset, started showing him text messages. She began reading them out to him. She continued to yell, "You made a fucking fool of me. I have told the children everything. So let's see how you go." So G said that reaction shows that she was so upset and felt betrayed because we're in a relationship, a de facto relationship. Now, she didn't agree with that. She said in her evidence, "I'd been aware from the year before that he was having a relationship, not an affair, having a relationship of a personal nature with an employee," which is why she was upset, from the business he operated. "I did not show him any text messages. I did not say or boast that I was able to get his phone hacked," which is what he said. She says that she was angry because he was doing things behind her back. And she did say to him that, "I want you to finish up this year and rent out the units," because he was a property manager for her, that are empty, "and I want you out of the love nest before Christmas, and I have no faith in your ability to do your job properly." She had lots of units that were in fact vacant, and it was his job to fill them and find her tenants, and he was just slacking off on the job, having a little affair with Smurfette at the love nest. I shouldn't say affair. Having his relationship, but not prioritising his job. Remembering he's living for free, he's got a supplementary credit card, he's using a car, she's giving him all of these benefits, and he wasn't in fact doing his job. So this was a case of credit because both parties had very different versions, and it was very difficult for the judge to tell who was telling the truth because they were both at polar opposites of exactly what happened in this relationship/friendship. So all he could really do was use what he could see from them saying in the witness box and past evidence. Now, when he went through a divorce with his ex-wife, that was when he was living in this property, the Love Nest. And during that time in the divorce proceedings, he went to the family court. There were transcripts about his evidence. And his wife was wondering, what is this arrangement for? Why do you get to live in this place for free? Which is what his evidence was. And this is what he said. He said in that family court case that the Love Nest was owned by a close friend, not his lover, not his partner, a close friend. So then senior counsel for Heather was cross-examining about that and said, and that was the truth, wasn't it? She was a close friend. And then he said, "I could have been a little more clearer." Well, no, that's what you said. That's just sworn evidence to the court, isn't it? The barrister says, "Are you suggesting that you're willing to mislead the court?" And he's like, "Well, no, I didn't mean to mislead the court, but I was being selective in what I said." And so basically, he wasn't telling the truth, and the judge didn't like that. The judge asked him this question, "So you didn't tell the whole truth?" And he's like, "Well, I was kind of sensitive. It's my ex-wife. I didn't want to kind of tell her I was in another relationship. Things were sensitive." The judge was satisfied that he did not tell the truth in those proceedings. He said in that court that Heather had offered to let him live there in the Love Nest until he got back on his feet financially. And she says that's the truth. He had said to the tribunal, a different case, that his income was only $23,500 a year. He'd said in their case that he paid for various expenses from his own pocket for Heather's properties. So he made financial contributions to her properties. She denied that and said he didn't have the money to do it. It's complete crap. He's just making it up. He said that he deliberately kept his finances low and his income low to avoid his child support obligations. That didn't go down well. The judge said that he arranged his financial dealings in a way to financially disadvantage his ex-wife and their children so that his garnishes wouldn't be paid in child support. If there's one thing us family lawyers and family law judges hate is somebody who's trying to avoid their child support obligations. So that evidence didn't go down well for him. So here's the list of criteria that you have to satisfy the court that he was in a de facto relationship. The onus was on him. The duration, she says it was nothing. We never lived together. The nature and extent of common residence, she said we never lived together. She says it was a friendship. He says it was a relationship. She said that they did sleep together from time to time, but it was no more than 4 or 5 occasions. And it's not a big deal. He did to some degree rely on her for finances, but so what? That was because he was working as a property manager, giving her some assistance. She says there was no degree of commitment to a shared life. The relationship was not registered. They had no children together. And yes, they did do things publicly, but so what? At the end of the day, the learned judge said, "I find there's no de facto relationship." So you know what? You lose, sir. You don't get a cent from Heather. But that's not the end of the story because G wouldn't take it lying down. He said, "I'm going to appeal this decision. That's not fair. We were, in fact, in a relationship and I'm entitled to something, God damn it." So he appeals to the full court. He had to represent himself because he was out of money. He lost. It was dismissed because it was within the judge's discretion to make that decision based on what he observed during the hearing. So he didn't have any grounds at law. And he lost, and then he had to pay her costs. Her real costs were 48, but he was ordered to pay 35.